Chapter 9.
Come on.
The stranger in black appeared out of nowhere.
Let's go get a damn drink.
Mr. Blue finished gazing at this sad old graveyard. Stone monuments lay cold and alone, dotting the sparse hills around as the thin air made everything exceptionally clear and chilly in the fall sunset.
Not your ride.
Mr. Black placed his hand on the stranger in blue's arm, stopping him from unlocking Purge.
Mine.
Mr. Blue followed the fellow time traveler in black into the ancient ebony obelisk. Saber stood near an Egyptian artifact which clearly showed ancient magicians attempting to find a formula to pause time. These old temporal alchemists worked furiously in the name of Khonsu, the Egyptian god of time, for favor in accomplishing something that, to even a novice Time Lord, would be tantamount to a child's game or parlor trick.
How much is that one worth, then?
Mr. Blue sidled up to the beautiful and nigh centuries-old time agent. He folded his arms and looked over at her with a mischievous grin. Saber gave him a strange, confused look. "Why the hell would I know?" followed by a shrug. Then she walked to a large mosaic. It was a picture on canvas of the pyramids, painted in the late 19th century. The stranger in black walked to a simple side bar and poured 2 fingers of scotch.
Going in.
He nodded to them as he swirled and sniffed his cocktail. Mr. Blue walked toward the enormous painting in time to see Saber disappear, having stepped inside.
So, just walk into this bloody thing.
The stranger in black belted the drink down in one swig, savoring the burn, then poured another, this one with a single ice cube, and carried it with him as he met Mr. Blue in front of the painting. He slowly placed a hand on the Blue Time Lord's back in a gentle, reassuring manner, and promptly shoved the annoying little lapis-colored Cockney alien right through. Mr. Blue stumbled into an Art Deco 1930s speakeasy tavern, which seemed straight out of the Prohibition era. The Azure Time Lord stood and corrected the quantum of dust on his outfit to an acceptable, minimal level. Mr. Black appeared next to him and headed to the main bar. Saber was sipping a Smirnoff Ice and speaking animatedly to the barkeep, a gorgeous young gothy chick with white skin and black clothing, very out of place. The stranger in black joined them, standing at the bar waiting for Mr. Blue, whom was still taking it all in.
What's your poison?
He called out to the cobalt-dressed Time Lord with the platinum hair. Mr. Blue ran up to the group.
Dirty martini. Double.
He nodded to the hot, punky barkeep.
And where do you come from, love? This is death,
Mr. Black offered in way of explanation.
Or should I say, my organic construct avatar of death, so to speak.
He sipped and smacked his lips.
And she doesn't, by the way, speak.
She didn't. She nodded and smiled. Mr. Blue peered at the barkeep construct.
Like when I had Cornelius.
Saber laughed at this and finished her drink. The stranger in black cracked a genuine grin.
Well, except mine isn't going to vaporize the solar system. Up to and including Nexus Point Earth. She just makes us delicious beverages.
The bartender hottie, dressed like death, handed Mr. Blue his drink, smiling politely. He took a sip and grinned, looked at Mr. Black.
What is this place?
It was my idea, Saber interjected. It's a cross-schism temporal platform meeting annexed to TARDIS.
It's a time bar,
Mr. Black interrupted and finished his drink, slamming the empty glass down.
And it's called The Endless.
Saber sipped her Smirnoff, rolling her eyes. I was getting to that.
The bartender is.
The stranger in black belched out of nowhere.
Sorry. That's Death of the Endless. Well, a bioformed imagination construct. A bioformed imagination construct that runs my bar.
Our bar, Saber corrected. She tossed up her empty bottle into the recycling container without having to look. Mr. Black stood. He glanced over at Mr. Blue, who enjoyed his drink quickly and followed suit. The pair walked across the beautiful and cozy yet strikingly vacant lounge from the seedy days of old New York. Cigar and cigarette smoke hung in the air. It smelled of stale sweat and bitingly strong old drinks. Mr. Blue heard Saber laughing as they walked up onto the stage and past the grand piano.
"Thought the lass at the bar didn't talk?" he inquired. "Not to me."
Mr. Black yawned as he parted the backstage curtain, holding it for Mr. Blue, illuminated by the almost surreal and glaring stage lights.
"Death never talks to me. I've cheated her way too much. But Saber? Well, let's just say that Saber and Death have a very unique relationship."
Mr. Blue entered behind the curtain. There was a gigantic stone table with 13 seats. One single overhead illumination bathed it in light. Otherwise, there was nothing to see in this room, or whatever it was. Could be a coliseum. They could be outside at night. Mr. Blue genuinely could not tell. All he could see beyond the table was darkness and mist, leading to, literally, nothingness, the void. The stranger in the cobalt outfit ran his fingers through his platinum blonde hair, stroking his goatee, his wild blue Time Lord eyes darting back and forth as he performed calculations with inhuman speed and ability, arriving at a singular conclusion.
"Right."
Mr. Black was smiling, resting his chin on his chest. Mr. Blue hated it when the strange old man in the black suit did that.
"You're wondering, which one is he? Which me?"
The thought had crossed my mind. Yeah. Mr. Blue placed his hands on his pockets, narrowing his eyes on the Time Lord in black. Mr. Black nodded, looking around at the smoke and mist flowing into the chamber like water, obscuring everything.
"Since Gallifrey went missing, the High Lords haven't been around to take care of things. Entropy is constantly brimming on the precipice of total destruction across the cosmos. This includes E-space and the alternate realities. The singular plane of multiversal existence is under constant threat. It is..."
The time traveler in the perfect obsidian suit looked around briefly, then abandoned his train of thought for another.
"I'm a Time Lord. As of now, I'm 681 years old. I am what you would call your future self. Your fifth self, to be precise."
He stared directly at Mr. Blue, his eyes piercing deeply. A long moment of pure silence. "All right." Mr. Blue looked around, unimpressed. Mr. Black cocked his head to the side.
"Really? Seriously? Nothing? Not even with the fog and the..."
"Not a big deal," Mr. Blue shrugged.
"And the big Gothic table and chairs?"
Mr. Blue squinted and smiled. Yeah, it's just not that fantastic." He took everything in.
"I would have thought the Knights of the Round Table deal."
Mr. Black rubbed the salt and pepper stubble on his face before he waved his hand absently in the general direction. "Just a big meh, to be honest." The stranger in blue typed something on his watch. "Bit low budget. Know what I'm saying?" Mr. Black rubbed the back of his neck.
"Well, the man in red and Professor Green both thought it was spectacular."
He looked down at the occupied version of himself, Blue 2.0.
"But we're not there yet, are we?" "Nothing. I'm gonna go get another drink before we have to get back to work."
The old yet handsome time traveler in black concluded. They reemerged and joined Saber and Death at the endless bar.
"Saber, I have to attend to some things. I trust you will get Mr. Blue out of here and back to his purge and get him debriefed.
Mr. Blue's eyes widened. Sounds promising. Think of more in boxes, though. Saber slapped Mr. Blue. Then she grimaced over at Mr. Black. You're really going to make me babysit him?
He's just lost a lot.
Mr. Black sighed.
Be there for him. Get him. Get him started.
The gorgeous time agent stared at the almost helpless alien in the cobalt trenchcoat and tie. Saber was hesitating.
Look, I have to make sure this gets done.
The stranger in black thrust his fist into his pockets and squinted at Saber.
You have your orders.
She burst out laughing.
That's funny to you?
He tilted his stern head toward her. Oh, I have my orders. Saber crossed her arms, not laughing anymore. What's funny is that you've been so manipulated as to think I actually work for you.
Yeah, touché, or whatever. I gotta go. Do you got this?
He literally disappeared without waiting for an answer. Saber nodded, ordered a second Smirnoff Ice from Death. Again, she stared at the almost helpless-looking alien in the dark blue suit. As she took a swig, she thought about the undeniable fact, when these Time Lords seemed to be their most vulnerable, is when they were actually their most dangerous. Then she grinned to herself. Shit. That was just something she'd remembered from a movie poster.